Lovers thinking time is rolling by like thunder now, as I look in your eyes. Hold on to your body.
Hi everyone, I'm here, table for four, and I'm so excited today to be talking about one of a legendary icons, singer, songwriter, and just someone I really admired through the years who passed away nearly a decade ago, but her music lives on. And Tommy Bayiokos is here. He was one of her dearest friends as well as in her band. So no one's going to be able to share more beautiful memories of Laura Branigan than Tommy. So thank you so much for meeting me this afternoon.
Thank you for having me, Judy, and congratulations on your recent film, In Sickness.
Thank you so much.
Looking forward to seeing that.
Thank you. I mean, again, Laura Branigan, we've all, we remember songs of Gloria and Self-Control, but there's so many beautiful, beautiful songs. I mean, I can't even, how many do you think she has? Like,
Well, Gloria, Solitaire, Self-Control, that's just the tip of the iceberg.
exactly.
You talk about tunes like Spanish Eddie.
I love Spanish Eddie.
Ti Amo, Berto Torres. We spoke about Don't Cry For Me, Argentina. So many tunes that I think the average fan doesn't even know that. They only know the tip of the iceberg. And there was so much more depth. Years later, fans will still come up to me and say, oh, I just discovered a new tune, No Promise, No Guarantees. Iconic tune, and it shows her vocal prowess, her 4 or 5 octave range, and it speaks volumes, and it resonates years later. So I'm happy you noticed that, and I'm happy you read that Christmas article that inspired you for us to be here today.
That's how I connected with Tommy. Is we were looking up how Laura died, and I remember she was such a, like, growing up, like, you don't know the actors, and I mean just her music was so impacted my life, not even knowing her. And I googled it, and I found the beautiful letter that you wrote, The Spirit of Love, and it was just so beautiful, just describing her legacy and what she was about and behind the scenes. And we became Facebook friends, and I'm just happy to just learn a little bit more about her. And I did, like, I remember a lot of the songs growing up, Ti Amo, and like you mentioned, Spanish Eddie, and she did beautiful duets with Luis Miguel, Cristina Blog. I mean, if you guys can just Google her and YouTube and just see, like, the beautiful music, and she was so down to earth, even on her videos. It wasn't the flashy, trying to be something. She was just about her music. You focus on how beautiful she was, and just her music, jeans and her leather jacket. And she just, like, took it. It was just incredible. She really commanded, without having to do any of the gimmicky things. It was really her vocals, truly her vocals.
And I'm happy you noticed that, there's artists today that are good. Lady Gaga, they're good and all, but I think there was only one Laura Branigan, and I really feel there won't be another Laura Branigan for a very, very long time. One of her mantra was to the fans, I want to touch people's hearts, get right down to their souls. And I think as you as an actress and me as a drummer, musician, actor, that's the goal. That should be the mantra for every performing arts, dramatic arts school in the country. And something so simple, yet artists today fail that. Laura knew that. She was ahead of her time. And when I first got in the band, I played with some really good singers in my time as a drummer.
Well, how did you become, get to be on her band? How did that all take place?
When she came back to New York, when she did the off-Broadway Love Janice, when she rebounded her career from her tragic loss from her husband Larry Krutzek, who passed in '96, she restructured the band and formed an East Coast band, and my friend Matt Tazzle was the music director. We were college buddies. So Laura got to know her early in 2000, in a good way. And 2001, I auditioned, I made the band as percussionist, which was a better slot because the percussionist job was to flavor. And although I knew the drum parts, but frontman percussionist was, I really wanted that. And I got that, and we played in Vegas, we played in the New York State Fair, we played in cars with the Commodores, New York State Fair, the same car with Leonard Skinner, Meyerhoff Symphony Hall with the Little River Band. And it was Michael Bolton and Mohegan Sun was on the same card, and those two were music pals, were Michael from the day.
I also read that Michael Bolton attributed attributed his career and his success
Yes.
to Laura. That's amazing.
Yes, he did. In his biography, and I was telling Kathy Golick from LauraBranigan.com and the official Facebook page, that Michael used the tune "How Am I Supposed to Live Without You." Now, he didn't write it, Laura didn't write it either, but Laura had permission to record it first. And then she gave permission for Michael to use that. And that became a big hit for Michael, probably a bigger hit.
Absolutely.
And that launched Michael's career.
It did.
So he tributes Laura Branigan to this day. And it's funny you mention that in the SAG-AFTRA, as we were speaking about it before, the fair pay,
Fair act through SAG, a Screen Actors Guild.
fair play, fair pay.
Correct.
And Mike Hodge, the president of SAG-AFTRA New York, mentioned Michael in the SAG-AFTRA meeting in front of hundreds, and I just chuckled, because knowing the story, knowing what I know,
The background of it.
I felt a sense of pride that Michael Bolton's name was mentioned, and then you think of Michael, of course, you think back Laura Branigan, our Laura Branigan.
Michael Bolton did a terrific job with that song,
He did.
but Laura Branigan, that's just, you can't.
Oh, she killed it.
Yeah, she was amazing.
And the tune "The Power of Love," made famous by Celine Dion, Laura recorded that first. Now I ask you to hear both versions,
I know.
and then I'll stay silent.
Exactly. And she also, I mean, she not only was she songwriter and singer, but she loved acting. She was on
Yes.
Chips. She did a lot of shows.
Another
I'm
good
dating.
bandstand.
I'm dating myself because I'm familiar with all these shows. So she really did great
Yeah.
movies,
Oh, yeah.
Ghostbusters.
And they're redoing Ghostbusters now, and she had a song in the soundtrack, and I'm curious to see with the remake of Ghostbusters, are they going to keep it? So, and then of course, Flashdance.
Flashdance, of course.
She had a hit on that, and Gloria, although not on the soundtrack, Gloria was in the movie Flashdance. So her legacy, her music resonates to this day. And in the spirit of love you mentioned before, loved by Kathy Vince-Skolek from Laura Branigan, the fans reunite all over the world, and it's a sanctuary, it's an oasis. It's sort of, in effect, a cemetery you go to and you honor, and it's just a great, great way to honor her and her legacy. And years later, it still resonates, and I'm still touched. And getting back to your question before, being in the band and then dating her. And our relationship started at the Mohican Sun Tour in January of 2000 until the end, August 26th, when she left us. So, years later, that still affects me because, especially, I want to share a story at the wake. I was a pallbearer, and I was asked to, I came in as a pallbearer, and I've never been a pallbearer before, and it was an honor, and I was a mush, and as you can imagine, and the brother Mark, I went to sit with the band, and he came in front of hundreds. He says, "No, Tommy, come sit here next to me. Laura would want you in the front." And I felt at place, I felt at ease, I felt at peace. But years later, I took that as a sign that was my calling. Who better to tell this special story of what happened those months and those years than me? Because Laura had a handful of people around her, a very tight circle. There was Gary Natoff from East Quad. There was Kathy Vince-Skolek, her friend Maria, myself, her brother Mark, her family. That's it. It was a very, very tight circle at the time.
Well,
So,
as you escalate with success, you have to keep your core tight and just keep you grounded. And these were people, all of you guys, that kept her happy.
Exactly. And in hindsight, what's the cliche? In hindsight, is this 2020?
Hindsight is 2020.
You look back and it's clear to me. You're back then with the mourning and the healing, and you go through the fire. One of my coaches at SAG-AFTRA said, "Tommy, she read somewhere it takes 7 years to fully heal." And you could say,
After loss, absolutely.
and you could say what people want to hear. I'm moving forward, everything's great. Yeah, moving on. But no, it hits you inside in the heart. So talking about it and going to the spirit of love and carrying her torch for the fans is cathartic for me.
It keeps it alive, and it's like it feels like yesterday. I lost my mom when I was 9, and it feels like yesterday.
Exactly.
People think, like you said, like you grieve and you get over and you move on, but that's still a big part of your heart.
Exactly. And So I'm very proud of sharing these times with you, and I'm glad you had me today.
I'm so excited for you to be on and sharing some stories. I mean, like if you want to share also like behind the scenes, like you would think, you know, like this woman's like big pop rock star icon, and she loved being home and she loved cooking. So
She loved cooking.
What kind of meals would you guys
Oh my God.
put together?
Well, she didn't like French cooking. She liked Greek cooking.
Okay, very cool.
And a big plus for me, she had a cousin, Andrea. So I put on the phone my Uncle John and how to make the grilled octopus. I remember we called one of the executive chefs at this restaurant, Morgan was, I was bartending at the time in between my shows, and we would pick his mind. She loved cooking. She loved wearing sweats around the house. There was no sign of her being Laura Branigan. Her mail came in her maiden name from Tech. She did have a plaque on the wall with her hits. She had a guitar on the wall.
And she lived in Prague, right?
East Clark, yes, that's correct. Prior, when I first started dating, she lived in Summers Hills, and then she moved to East Clark about March.
Okay.
And that was nice. It was like paradise.
It is.
I would go jogging in the morning. She had the pool, the barbecues. It was like something out of a fairy tale. And she knew me very well. She knew me quote like the palm of her hand because she knew people. She performed all over the world. Now, this was all pre-social media. Years later, I'm looking at social media and I'm like, she played all over the world. She was a household name. And back then, even in our last show in Boston, it was like, oh, that's right, you have to sing. I almost forgot that she was a singer. Because you're so in the relationship, you're so into everything
That's
else.
not how you see her every day. You kept her real, she kept you real. Like,
Exactly.
You know, it's what paid the bills, and she was so talented and amazing and made her fans, you know, enormously happy,
Yes.
but it was, you know, her real day-to-day life.
She was genuine, and years later, what I take forward and remember most is her being genuine and the simplicity of life. So often we get caught up in the drama of showbiz, and at the end, when you go full circle, it comes down to simplicity. Simple things that you take forward.
I mean, when I look back and see her videos now, I mean, again, it was simplicity, and 20 years later, they're still awesome. It still resonates too. They still touch you, and
Yes.
just simple. So, do you have like any favorite places that you guys tour? That memory that stands out? I mean, like you said, you've been all over the world, but any place in particular? Did she ever tour in Argentina? I know she
toured-
loves singing "Don't Cry for Me, Argentina." Did she?
She toured South America prior to my entry. I think Uruguay, they just performed in Uruguay before I got in the band. I think she was really big in South America and in Europe, depending on the contracts they had for the radio stations at the time. I would say the Boston show stood out for me.
Boston, yeah.
Because we opened up for the Commodores. The Commodores opened up the Boston North End Festival Friday.
Okay.
And we were scheduled by Saturday. And it was without the band. It was me and Laura Flew, and it was just the tracks. Kathy had been scolded, Laura Branigan met us there. And it was really cool because the promoter, David Oriola, all he talked about was the Commodores, they're driving me crazy, they're bringing it. And then Laura goes, well, tell me, how did the sound check go? I said, great, all he talked about was the Commodores. Sure enough, we get in the limousine. The first thing he says was, the Commodores, and we're about to, and she started laughing, I started laughing, not in front of him, but we chuckled a little bit. And then she came out and she sounded great, she sounded happy, and I think there were so many shows, but that was the most, the happiest I've ever seen in Boston. Because so many things were the promise of the cookbook, the world tour, the CD, the relationship going in a good place, and then all that, well, one day taken away. So
That's why really in the blink of an eye, like, you know, people think of, you know, the golden years and your just every day, just enjoy and be happy, because you never knew she was taken very early. You know, she was only 47 years old when she died of brain aneurysm.
that's correct.
So just like it does teach you, you know, just enjoy and love life and everything, and never take anything for granted. Never wait until tomorrow to tell someone you love them. And you guys lived it. You had the real thing.
And I think true love happens in one's life once in a while. Now, you're very attractive. I think I'm a good-looking guy. You're a good-looking guy too. Oh.
Brian, yeah, of course.
That being said, we meet a lot of people in the business, but how many times have you had true love that touches your heart, that takes over your whole body? I think that happens in our life once in a while. And that happened to me, believe me. That wasn't planned. It just happens. And I think being friends first was a beautiful foundation for that to happen.
Absolutely. You guys are creating magic together and
Wasn't
enjoying
planned.
what you do.
Wasn't planned. And I think some of our best moments in life are the moments of truth that are not planned. So
Absolutely.
that's what I take forward so many years later.
And also, just to share also like a little bit more privacy, she
Sure.
had her mom, she was a caregiver to
That's
her
correct.
mom also, Kathleen. So
Kathleen.
to the end, like she wouldn't put her in a hospital. As crazy and hectic as her schedule it was, she was there
That's
for her
correct.
mom.
She cared for her mom, Kathleen. And she adored her mom. And Magda, at the end we had a housekeeper come in, and when Laura was told Magda would take care of her mom, Kathleen. And her mom, Kathleen, passed away a year later. She was a very, very fine woman, like Laura. But I remember after Sunday nights after dinner, it was like something, traditions that we don't have anymore. We were singing at the table. And the mother would start a tune, whether it was a jazz thing, All With Me, or something.
It didn't have to be a LB song.
No. I remember one time I started singing at the table after a few drinks, Let It Be Me, done by the Everly Brothers, and I know Elvis did it and so many artists did it. And she goes, oh, Tommy, I want to record that. And then she did it at a tempo this slow. And it was wow.
Yeah.
And she says, Tommy, bring the music in, I want to record that. Weeks later she said, she goes, I told you to bring the music, what happened? I said, you were serious? She said, yes. So maybe that would have been in the new CD? Probably. Because she embellished it, she just killed it. An amazing talent, very humble and genuine. And that's very rare today. We see that in artists today or on set business.
As a person, just as being a person, human first.
So that's what I take with me years later. Here's some pictures I brought.
Oh yeah, we'd love to.
This is one of the pictures from The Spirit of Love. It's Kathy and Vince Gold from Laura Branigan, an official Facebook page, and some of the fans, Jen Revelin.
Laura Branigan right here.
Photo turned in from a fan back in the day.
So who handles her male fan? Is that you, her brother?
Kathy and Vince Gold from LauraBraniganOnline.com and the official Facebook page. The other half entertainment handle all that.
Okay.
And they carried the torch well. There's a couple 100,000 fans on that page and
I
forum.
saw it. It's incredible, the following even now. It's just
And-
incredible how adored she was.
And on behalf of them, I'd like to present you from Kathy and Vince Gold and the fans. It was this year's shirt that they had for Laura. Laura Branigan Spirit of Love 2015.
So beautiful.
And this is for you.
Oh, thank you.
Always in our hearts.
She is always in my heart as well. It's so beautiful. Thank you. How cool. If viewers out there, they want to get a shirt, they go to www.laurabranigan.
That's correct.
Okay, online.com if you wanted to get a shirt like this as well. This is so awesome.
And here's some of the charts, the drum charts and percussion charts to The Winner Takes All, which Laura recorded in 2000, and Gloria. Now back
Oh,
then,
wow. How cool is this? Yeah, back then it's not
Back
on
then,
the computer. This is all
exactly.
the way, oh my God.
When I first got in the band and I had an audition, Matt Kazan, the music director, he gave me a cassette tape. He said, here, learn this, I'll see you at rehearsal. There was no YouTube, there was no...
I'm dating myself because yes, I remember. I can pretend and say, what's a cassette tape? Yeah, I know. I have all her records on vinyl, so yes, I'm dating myself as well.
So,
Everybody will be like, what's vinyl now, right?
and it's amazing, Gloria, it's an anthem tune, it's a household name tune.
It really is. Do you know how she came up with like Gloria as opposed to Laura?
And Berto Tosi, Gloria was an Italian tune, and Laura at that time, with her management, turned it into a mega American hit. So originally in 1982 it was an Italian tune, and then Laura turned it into an American and became a big hit. I think over 90 million records were sold in the US alone.
Yes.
And she had 4 Grammy-nominated hits: Solitaire, Self-Control, How Am I Supposed to Live Without You. Solitaire was written by Diane Warren. Yeah, so she had some career.
This is incredible.
It's Greek to me.
No, it is to me. I'm not familiar with music tunes and stuff. It's just so incredible. This is the stuff you guys worked on.
The concert charts were different, obviously, than the recordings. They were bigger, they were expanded. Laura liked to feature her band, and again, that was a testament to how most band leaders would want their band in the back. She wanted her band featured, and then
It was family. It was family
Totally.
to her.
And on the encore, she gave the band their moment and introduced them, and we had some great shows.
Well, it was before the social media that you have now.
Totally.
So, yeah, so I mean, this is something you guys worked, and it's incredible what you guys did.
If social media was around then,
Oh, she would
well,
be, 10 times what she's...
number one.
Mhm.
Number one in the world. And still is number one in the world, in my opinion.
No, absolutely. I
So-
totally agree with you. I mean, she's sung like an angel, just incredible.
Yes. And again, so many years later, I mean, I've, as you know, we're both in the biz, and I mean, we work with name artists and acts, but I don't think any act or any person, or the fact that she was more than just my band leader, could ever replace that. Nothing could top that. So when I'm on set, I meet other people. I'm really not fazed because I was one of the greatest people,
I
acts,
understand.
souls in the world. What could top that? What could faze me? So that gives me the strength.
Everybody you meet now, because you are an actor, you're a working actor.
Yes.
Do people know your background, or not everybody, or?
I try to keep all on sets. It's not exactly the first thing I say.
No,
'cause it's-
absolutely, but sometimes
yeah.
they know you and they remember. And
I am humbled when I'm approached and on the set of Blue Buds, one of my friends will come say, Tommy, you played for Laura. And he would say, you know, I met her. And I would be all ears. I want to hear
the
about
story.
that he lived on 51st Street and that's where she lived before in Manhattan. And I would want to hear that and take it in and then share. And then I would follow up with a gift. I would give him the CD. I would give him a set list. Oh, I have a set list here. I think I brought a set list. Any token I can give of that moment. I thought I had a set list. I didn't bring a set list of those years. And it's, you know, conversation triggers other memories. Just by talking to you, other things are being triggered. And it's cathartic for me and the fans to share. So I'm happy when actually fans do approach me and say, I love Laura. And that makes me feel really, really good. And like I told you before, I find over these years, 1 out of 2 people does not know Laura left. And
I had a few friends I spoke to, and the same thing. If you hear the music and you don't recognize,
Right.
how can you not know? So yeah.
it happened on a Thursday night. It was actually discovered that Friday, and it wasn't announced in the news media that Saturday, and it was the end of August. A lot of people were away.
But
So-
it was still good that you were able to keep the privacy, like you said, to, you know, the
Agreed.
people around her were really amazing, wonderful people, because you were able to keep that quiet until Saturday. Nowadays, you know, 2 minutes after anything happens, it's on social media. So the people that Laura had around her were
Agreed.
really wonderful people. Who,
Exactly.
who
And at
wanted
the
to make
wake
sure.
in Armonk, it was a very small family, immediate friends, the band, my immediate friends that Laura knew. So it was a very small, tight, private wake, and for the way she would have wanted. So
Can you imagine if she wasn't a singer and a songwriter and an actress, what would she be doing if that was
Cooking.
her career? She'd be cooking? Okay.
we actually wanted to open up a little restaurant near where she lived, and she wanted to call it LB's and have her soups. And the cookbook, which would have been called Everyday Cooking,
That's
would have been
awesome.
everyday recipes. So that was her passion. So I could see that her cooking, and she loved cooking.
That's awesome.
And what's the cliche? How to get to a man's heart by the food, the cooking.
Absolutely.
So-
and wine, you guys had a
Get to man's
She loved
heart
red
through
wine.
his stomach.
That's right. She loved red wine, and she loved watching me eat. I was much heavier back then, 40 pounds heavier.
Okay, well, you were happy, so that's good. She was feeding
Yes.
you yummy, so
Yep,
okay.
yep.
So, anything else about you? Like, I also found, like, you know, the on your IMDb page is T-Bay. So, how did you come up with your nickname of T-Bay?
Actually, that was inspired by Laura because Laura, to her close friends, and she always called it LB. It's LB, not Laura. So LB, and then years later, or we're talking at the forum about Laura, LB, then T-Bay evolved. And it's ironic you said that all the success I've had after is attributed to Laura, what I learned from her specifically. Not the acting coaches, not any school, not any class, not on sets. Laura, it's what she taught me, to be obsessed with it. You have to be obsessed with it, Tommy. It shows. Come down to a whisper, space, phrasing, dynamics. Come down to a whisper. And I take that musically, and as an actor, you know, the space between lines, and the focus, and being obsessed with it. You can't just give something 90% or 100.
Absolutely.
And that's when Laura did something, I mean, in rehearsals, it had to be perfect. If it wasn't perfect, it wasn't acceptable.
That's words I live by, and I drive my film family that I work with crazy, and they'll vouch for me that that's the way to do it. If you're going to do something right, you're putting your name on it, you want to make sure it's 200%.
And I think that's what attracted you to Laura and why we're here today, because you related to that high level of perfection of a musical standard that might be a bygone thing today. That really doesn't exist today.
And also the genuine, like, you know, you see, like, just from reading, like, all about her, there's not one bad word about her, and just everything she did, she touched everyone she met. That's incredible. Like, her gift, I mean, she made everyone happier by being, you know, joy. Even if you didn't know her, I didn't know her personally, but her music brought me such peace and love, and it was just amazing.
Laura, it was genuine in the sense she was approached with tunes all the time, even by demo most of the time. Can you record this? And if she didn't feel for it, if it didn't represent her soul, she wouldn't record it, regardless of the money. So genuine is a huge word that could be right next to Laura.
And I think also the word impact. I mean, she totally, like, everybody, I mean, even now, 10.5 years, I mean, the impact that she has on all of us is incredible.
Agreed.
So.
Yes. And it shows in your artistry too. So.
Well, thank you. So what are the things you're working on now? I know you worked on Wolf of Wall Street, you did The Dark Knight, now you're working on Blue Bloods, you have a bunch of things going on.
One of Tom Selleck's co-lieutenants on Blue Bloods, it's a great gig. It's a great set. Watching Greg Jabbar, Tom Selleck work.
Not a bad day to go to, yeah.
It's like a paid masterclass.
That's amazing.
And I was just cast for an untitled sitcom as one of the main roles. I signed a 2-year contract, and God willing, we're going to shoot that next few weeks.
That's awesome.
And that airs.
So congratulations. We'll have you come back and we'll
talk about
the show, absolutely, where we can find you.
And we're doing the off-Broadway Murdered by the Mob.
That's awesome.
In New York City. So there's a bunch of things going on, and we just take it day by day.
Off-Broadway is fun. You definitely see a lot of my friends did a lot of the spot. Like, you know, Broadway's great always, but off-Broadway sometimes you even work hard. It's like indie films. You have to work harder to get the noise level, and it's like really great, you know, ideas and storylines.
Yes, and as you recall, Laura did Love Janice, and that achieved her so much acclaim, and to even attempt to sing Janis Joplin, I think very few people on the planet.
She definitely had those
Laura
vocals, absolutely.
Totally. So again, all traced back to Laura. All traced back to Laura, and that's what actually wakes me up years later. It's like, how can you, after you've been through the fire, how can you proceed? Well,
it's hard. I mean, you grieve and you have to, you know, go forward, but you remember the beautiful times, and
it propels you. It propels you, and then at the same time, you don't want to let them down. And because if you let them down, you'll get yourself down. It just wouldn't be right. And we'll see her again.
Absolutely.
We'll definitely see her again.
You will definitely be singing and jamming with her.
And we'll be eating up there and having a drink.
Absolutely.
And the show will go on.
Yeah, until then, just celebrating her memories and celebrating her life and legacy and what beautiful music she has. So, I mean, all the fans watching Laura Branigan can definitely look at YouTube and see her music, follow her fan base, and hopefully we'll be hearing of any books or documentaries or anything like that in the future.
Your lipstick eyes here.
Yeah, so thank you so much for doing this interview.
Thank you so much.
Any parting words that you want to say about Laura before?
As she used to say, slanche. Cheers. You can't
We're
make this
about
up.
to leave, and Laura Branigan's Gloria comes on the radio. This is like,
you can't make this up.
She's watching. Angels are here. So I'm very happy. She's always with you. See this? and you get to share some of the joy.
Judy, nothing is by coincidence. Nothing is by coincidence.
I do believe in all the little signs and.
You can't make this up.
It was a beautiful tribute, but that was